Good afternoon. We'll call the meeting to order. Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She was on her phone.
Item number 3, adoption of the agenda. Motion,
Adopt the
please.
agenda.
Motion by Romano, seconded by Howard. Please vote. Item 4, approve of the minutes of May 14th.
Do we have a count on the vote, Mr. Chair?
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 14th.
Support.
Thank you for the follow-through.
One.
Item 4, approve of the minutes of May 14th. Please, motion.
I do. Support.
By Romano and by Howard again. Please vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Item 5, this is public participation. This is an opportunity, anybody in the public wishes to speak on anything on the agenda for 3 minutes. Anybody in the public? Anybody in the public? Public participation is closed. Item 6, Public Service Committee Department recommendations. I'm going to put A through K, or A through K, and we're going to call up Mr. Santo.
Make a motion to approve A through K.
Support.
Goike and Grote, please present your program, Mr. Santo.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As you can see by item 6A, it's seeking approval for a contract, Michigan Department of Transportation, for shared use path improvements on Metro Parkway from Utica Road to Union Lake Road. That is 80% federally funded, so 20% match between us and Clinton Township. That is a total project cost of $2,103,000. Item B is also a contract, Michigan Department of Transportation, for Romeo Plank Road from 28 to 29 Mile Road. That is part of our federal rural pavement preservation program. That is 80% federally funded with 20% covered by the Department of Roads with no local match. Total cost is $550,530, with our cost being $110,106. Item C is a contract with PK Contracting. This is for our 2026 longitudinal pavement marking project. It's one of our annual programs that we select various locations within the county to restripe longitudinal lines. We sent that out to bid. There was only one vendor, which was PK Contracting. That is 100% McDoor funding. Item D is a contract with Dan's Excavating for the project Broughton Road from 23.5 Mile Road to 25 Mile Road. That is a new section of roadway in that stretch in Macomb Township. Overall project cost is $17,472,073.50. There were 3 bidders, with Dan's being the low bidder. This is the project that Macomb Township did get an earmark of funding of $5 million towards this section of roadway from the state. This is a 60-40, so 60% is considered a local road, 60% on the township end, 40% on the Department of Roads. Item E is a cost share agreement with Macomb Township for the Broughton Road extension from 23 to 25 Mile Road. Total cost $20,009,815. County cost is $6,169,408. Once again, this is a 60-40 split. 60% Macomb Township, 40% McDoor. Obviously, this is higher than the contract because obviously we have PE, CE, and admin costs in the overall total with the cost share with the township. The contract obviously with Dan's is just the construction cost. Item F is a revised cost share agreement with Clinton Township. This is for 2026 pavement preservation program. They had come to us initially with sections of roadway, one being Moravian for a more of a heavier project as far as repair. They had backed off that and wanted other sections that they wanted to be done in their community. However, we still had some work we had to do on Moravian. It was more of a patching project, as we did have other locations within the township. The contractor, after we bid the project, they said that they could actually mill off the entire surface and replace it at a cheaper cost than doing all the patches along those stretches. So obviously, we would rather mill off the existing full surface and replace it with a new surface at a cheaper cost. So we obviously revised the cost share to represent that change. Item G is a cost share agreement. Actually, G through K are all similar in nature. Cost share agreements with the communities, Lenox Township, Bruce Township, Richmond Township, Washington, and Chesterfield. These are cost share agreements for our 2026 limestone program, which is our annual program. We provide up to 3 miles of new limestone on gravel roads in the northern communities, including Chesterfield. And these are just the cost share agreements associated with those. So I'll open up to any questions on those items.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Brian, I'm looking at these costs of 17 million, 20 million. Are the prices going up?
Obviously, every year there's inflation, but there is a lot involved with a new roadway than just taking an existing roadway and either repairing it or reconstructing it. There's a roundabout that's going in, a larger roundabout that's going in at 24-mile road in Broughton, so that adds additional cost to the project also. But I would say for the length and for the extent of work, it does have a drain crossing also just north of 24. That is part of this project. That does drive up costs considerably. So I guess I would say this is normal for sections of roadway. If we're looking at say a 2 to a 5 lane reconstruct, so we have existing 2 lane and we want to widen it to a 5 lane concrete, that's probably 10 million plus per mile
Okay,
to do that. So
thank you.
you're welcome.
$10 million plus.
Different than
Commissioner
about
Sabatini?
20 years, 30 years ago when it was about a little over $1 million.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. I wish we would have done it then, Brian.
Wish we would have done a lot more back
But,
then.
I mean, this is the challenge in my community, Macomb Township. We can't, mill and fill and do patchwork. We have to build from scratch, and these numbers are huge, and trust me, our locals aren't happy writing these big checks either, but the traffic is ridiculous in Macomb Township. But this project has been discussed for, at least 10 years. And I know the township has been trying to find additional funding for this, so I know this has been on the radar for a long time, and finally they've been able to get it on our agenda. So obviously I'm supporting this. This has been a huge lift, and thank you to you and your department amongst all these other ones. I know Moravian Drive's on here. I know that's been discussed for a long time too, so I'm glad that we're able to resolve that as well. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just an example. So with the bidding, there was 3 bidders. And our engineer's estimate, obviously our engineers put together the quantities and items and cost estimates with average unit pricing. Dan's Excavating was $900,000 under our engineer's estimate. So we never want to be the winners with our engineer's estimate. So we want to make sure that we're got enough in the project that we're comfortable with as far as pricing. And they undercut that by about $900,000. So that was good pricing.
Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Brian.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
I told you I drive Moravian. I quit driving it. Can you tell me from where to when or from where to where?
They're doing from Metropolitan Parkway up to Cass.
All the way up to Cass.
Yes.
And that will start,
It's already started. They've milled off most of the existing surface, and they should be starting to pave the new surface here shortly.
so when you say mill off, I'm talking about shaving off the top and then
Yes,
putting on
actually,
new.
mill off 2 inches off the existing surface.
Brian, any idea how long the project will take, barring weather problems? We talking months, a year,
I would say a couple months max,
couple of months max?
probably shorter than that.
Okay.
It's just a simple milling off the surface and repaving on, tacking it and repaving on top of it. Should go rather quickly.
Good. See, Chair, you can get back to your gentleman and tell him it happened finally, huh? Poor guy.
Actually, they've already started.
That's all I have, Chair. Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you,
Brian,
Commissioner.
question on Moravian. Are they widening it at all?
No,
They can't.
not widening it currently, no. That would involve, if we widen it, that would involve additional right-of-way purchases through those sections, which would obviously drive up the cost
I
considerably.
know there's not much there to widen, but,
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
No other speakers, there's a motion. Please vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you, Commissioners. Take care.
Thank you. Item 7, Public Service Committee Correspondence, Macomb County Drainage District Financial Annual Report for year October 2024 to September 2025. Motion, please.
Motion to receive and file.
Support.
Motion by Grott, seconded by Goike. No discussion, please vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
At this time, it gives me great pleasure to turn the meeting over to illustrious Commissioner Romano.
If I could be halfway as quick as you are, Mr. Perna, I'd be just so happy.
We would too.
And I'm sure the rest of the board would also. Okay, this is a Record and Public Safety Committee Department recommendation. Item A is a budget amendment, prosecuting attorney general fund, forensic psychological services, $32,000. We have Mr. Biondo here as Chief of Special Prosecutions. I need a motion to move this to full board.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Wallace. Mr. Biondo.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to present on this agenda item. At a certain level, it's a straightforward budget-neutral budget amendment to move $32,000 from our personnel line item to our expert witness line item. In a department with 142.5 full-time employees, it's natural for a few people to, retire and whatnot. And so by the time we hire people, there's built-in savings through that process. We've confirmed we have over the $32,000 needed for this amendment. So again, it's a budget-neutral amendment. As far as the substance, it can get a little complicated. We need this money for a number of experts, primarily for psychological services, but also for SANE, sexual assault nurse examiner, expert witness, Dr. Spitz, who would be an expert witness in terms of the cause of death. And so these are all AP assistant prosecutor requests for current ongoing cases where, in order to serve the public and deliver justice for the victims and their families, we need these expert witnesses. And we try to do everything we can to minimize the expense of the expert witnesses. However, these are going forward. We need this funding. And I have our Chief of the Appeals Unit, Emil Saman, in case the board had any questions for him regarding Miller hearings, which is referenced here. We're going to do at least one Miller hearing this year. That's going to be a $10,000 expense for one expert for one case. We're going to have quite a few more for next year, but we wanted to at least come before the board to do this for the one we have to take care of this year. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, Emil Saman is here, Chief of our Appeals Unit, in case there's any in-depth questions the board wants to get into regarding Miller hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Biondo. We do have a commissioner here who has a question. Commissioner Howard?
Hey, just wanted to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. I totally understand it's budget neutral, but the $32,000 is going to be used for Miller hearings.
So no, so as I broke out in my recommendation to the board, and I understand it's complicated because there's a number of numbers, so I appreciate the question, and let me walk you through. The $32,000 we're asking to be moved would cover $20,000 with Dr. Abramsky, and $10,000 of that $20,000 contract would be for the one Miller hearing. The other $10,000 for Dr. Abramsky would be a second contract like they included in the packet, just to give an example of our current contract. And what that is an independent expert's opinion on whether or not someone's competent to stand trial. And this is typically for cases where it's a murder charge, something serious. And so out of the $32,000 we're asking for today, only $10,000 of it would go to the one Miller hearing that we, as of today, are aware of that we need to go forward on this year. Next year, there'll be many more, and so we'd be in the budget process for next year talking about this issue more in depth, because we're going to have quite a few next year compared to this year. And this is really a form of an unfunded state mandate, courtesy of the Michigan Supreme Court, where it just creates a situation where we need an expert witness on these types of cases.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love unfunded mandates, but like, I mean, their ruling was reasonable. We have the largest population of juvenile lifers without parole. So that's what that really is addressing. So the $5 million that the state appropriated for this, that is just going to the defense then, correct?
That's our understanding per the email I provided, and kind of talks about the situation. And again, while we would love to have the same amount of funding they have on the other side, this is strictly, we try to limit to cases that we know going forward. I mean, I may come back before the end of the year and ask for additional funding if it turns out that the court, in a particular case decides to have a Miller hearing before the end of the year. As unlikely as that is, it's a possibility.
Okay. Yeah, I have a few more questions, but I'm not sure that right now is the best time. So maybe I'll send an email out and
Yeah.
follow up with.
Please do. I'd be happy to talk to any commissioner at length about any item. I know sometimes this is not the right format to have it back and forth regarding the details like this.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're, in compliance with that court order from the Supreme Court and, kind of their ruling that they said around juvenile lifers. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see no other speakers. I have a motion in support. Please vote. Don't leave, Mr. Biondo.
Yes, sir.
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you. Item B is an amended contract, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, legal representation, $1,350,000. Again, we have Mr. Biondo as Chief of Special Prosecutions. I also need a motion to recommend this to full board.
So moved. Support.
A motion by Commissioner Wallace, supported by Commissioner Lucido and Commissioner Lucido. Mr. Biondo, go ahead.
Thank you, commissioners. As I indicated in the packet, this is a current contractual relationship we have with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. It's a 3-year contract. Right now, if we don't do anything, that contract ends as of the end of September of this year. It's such a great program that Prosecutor Lucido brought back that we'd like to invoke the 2-year extension, basically, so that we go 2 additional years. In the packet, I talk about the fact that, throughout the past few years where we pursue this, this is a source of funding for our juvenile division to do work. And so I indicated under the current contract from October 1st, 2023 through as of the end of March of this year, we brought in $569,000 under that almost 2.5, 3-year period, let's say, of funding to put to work for the juvenile division. It's a great program. With this board's support in the past, we were hoping you guys would support a 2-year extension. Happy to answer any questions on this.
I see no questions. We have a motion in support. Please vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you, Mr. Biondo.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. See you later.
Item C is a budget amendment with the Clerk's Office General Fund, 1 FTE Junior Business System Analyst for $42,930.12. I need a motion to recommend items 9C through 9F to full board first.
So moved.
Commissioner Howard, supported by Commissioner Lucido, and we have in front of us Secretary of State, Register of Deeds Clerk, Mr. Forlini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what you have in front of you is a critically important part of our operation. As you know, the clerk's office really deals across the entire county, different operations. As a matter of fact, we've got 24 different software operations, different things that if any one of them go down, 14 of them in particular, they're critical operations that will cause backups in the clerk's office.
Bless you.
And having the BSA in our office helps us, and this, I've been actively watching this guy. He is busy all the time. There's some system somewhere, something going on that we need to fix, keep going, so that the public flow keeps happening. So we don't have one of these right now, and I can't even believe, you look at all the different departments, what they have, and is regarding to that, we realize how important this is. And I'm not sure if there's any other departments that is diverse as we are in the different operations. So we're asking for this position, which is going to be, of the 4 things you have there, the item is adding the position. The The next one is to fund the position. The next item is for the tech fund to reimburse a third of that. And the last one is to, for the CPL fund to reimburse another third. So the cost to the fund is, 1/3 of the entire cost to the general fund. Any questions?
Chair Sabatini,
Thank you,
please.
Chair, Clerk. Good afternoon. So right now, you're contracting this out, correct? Okay, so theoretically, is this a savings to the county based on how we're doing it right now through general fund?
Well,
Or are we
we're-
using these funds in the contract?
Yeah, I can have Jennifer come up and go through those details. My deputy register of deeds.
Hello.
Hey.
With how we would be funding it through the CPL fund and the tech fund, it would be a savings to the general fund. The danger is, though, that what we are currently paying them under contract is way below market price. So the likelihood of keeping anyone at what we're doing now is unlikely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
And we're paying another entity to do this.
Yeah.
Mr. Furley, would you pull that microphone in front of you, please? You're a tall guy, and sometimes we can't hear you. Yep, there you go, thank you.
Maybe you don't want to hear me.
Sir?
Go ahead.
Commissioner Howard, please.
Hey, just a quick question. So we're assuming that this will be, going on in years future. With the, do you know how, like, the decisions made at the state in regards to the CPL fund, is that going to negatively impact like this going in the future in the reduction that we're going to get from the CPL fund?
If that happens, if that happens, we're going to rework. There's going to be quite a bit reworked. However, we do have monies in that CPL fund that could last for quite a while.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Furley, I see here, you've got 2 junior business systems analysts. What's a junior business systems analyst?
I'm going to let somebody that's much smarter than me in this department answer that. I'll give you the right answer.
And don't gobbledygook me, just give me what is it?
No, so that's easy for me because by nature, I'm a systems analyst. So when
Microphone.
when a department, a business entity needs a solution for something to happen, but they're not very technical, and they hire a company, a vendor, a technology solution, a BSA, a business systems analyst, fills in that gap between the business owners describing what it is they need and how it's actually going to be done technically. So there's a technological gap, especially being in the county for a while. I see this in a lot of places. Government, our staff, our supervisors, our admin people, they are procedure experts, subject matter experts, but you still need that mix of someone who has enough understanding of data, systems, how IT works, to translate that to your vendors when you're getting a new system, when you're building software, when you're building a database. Without someone like this is where you end up with costly customizations of trying to fit government processes into something that maybe the system doesn't do just because they've always done it that way. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Can we teach Mr. Ferlini how to do? No, just to, so I'm
I
looking
had
at 2
trouble
different,
today
what
with
makes
my
the
2
difference
monitors.
between one for 21,000 and maybe I didn't do my homework, and another one for 64,000?
No, it's one position cut up into thirds as far as how
Oh,
it's funded.
okay, I got it. Thank you. I have a motion in support, and I see no other questions. Please vote.
Commissioner Grove, the system didn't receive your vote.
Let me do the e-vote.
Thank you. Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Furley. Thank you. Item G is a grant agreement, State of Michigan, 2026 Remonumentation Program for $103,257. And we also have Clerk Forlini here. I need a motion recommend items 9G through 9N to full board.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Wallace. Clerk Forlini, if you would go down the line, please.
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. when I first came into office, we were in full mode with remonumentation, and it's the survey stakes. It's the surveying throughout the entire county, so we know where the boundaries are for everyone's property. There is multi-years. I think Commissioner Goyke and I were in the legislature when at the time Representative Hall.
What's his name? Yeah, that guy.
Well, I wanted to make sure I was saying Representative Hall at the time. We were doing this in Lansing, providing the funding. Macomb County, I think, was pretty well ahead of most of the others. We finished the initial amount, and now we're in a maintenance phase to make sure all these monumentations stay the same. This is state money that's coming in. Catherine DeDecker from Spalding DeDecker has been leading this for the last few years and has been doing a great job. What these monies are is just reimbursing the different surveying companies that are out there doing the work, maintaining our survey positions, the monumentations. So it's a pass-through as far as funding goes.
Mr. Furley, you know, I see all these different surveying companies. Would it be cheaper to get 2 or 3 instead of 4 or 5 or 6 and maybe get a cheaper price?
I'm going to have Catherine DeDecker to talk.
I understand. That's why you brought your support.
Come on.
All you do is run the place. Go ahead.
For the remonumentation, the surveyors don't really make any profit on these. They do it for the historic preservation of the program. So even if we got just 2 or 3 firms doing the work, it would still be at about the same cost or even more if they wanted to make any profit on it.
So are the fees identical when they do it?
The fees are identical across the board. So if one surveyor does one remon corner, the other surveyor gets the same fee.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Goyke, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a note. This is very important, you know, from my past career, so that the engineers throughout the whole county, they're just, a lot of the monuments, because Tony said that they were already upon it, so they're just redouble checking them because of the latest of satellites and the equipment that's available right now. It's just, it's very, very important for it to work out. Years ago, when they were selling property, they'd list, I'm going way back, 40 acres plus or minus. Well, they were doing everything with chains and rods, you know, and that's physically a 16.5-foot chain, and that was a rod, you know, that's how they did it. So, but by staying up on top of it, this helps down in St. Clair Shores, over in Sterling Heights, as well as the north end, so that you do have your property where the easements are, that they've got these monuments to take off from, that it's a solid point, and it's a solid point where it's the sea elevation, so that they know the elevation is like 675 above sea level, where at the north end, you're almost at 800 feet above sea level. So this just codifies everything by having them double check, and sometimes they may have to move a monument. They'll have additional costs if they have to pour the concrete, put the rod in and the brass plate for it. So it's a great program to stay up on people's personal properties so that they've got the equipment to work with. Thank you, and thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Yes,
You want a job?
sure.
You know, and as far as what's great about this group, and I've been in some of these meetings, is they check on each other. So they come together, they talk about the progress, what they've done, and they compare their results, and it's good peer review. So having these different people in meetings, I find it to be very productive amongst them in the accuracy.
Thank you, Clerk. I see no other speakers. Please vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. Your iPad and my statement here is a little different than yours, so I'm going by mine, if I may. And item C is a contract with Health Management Systems of America, outpatient substance use and mental health treatment, It's not to exceed the yearly grant award total. We have Christina Wolfield here from Court Services Director. I need a motion to recommend this to full board.
So I'll support.
Motion by Commissioner Howard, supported by Commissioner Hall, and we have Christina here, please.
Hi, good
Hi.
afternoon. So really quickly, I do have agenda items O through R. They're basically the same thing, I just split them up, and I can summarize that for you. These services are for our specialty court programs located in the circuit court and for Romeo District Court. They have a drug court program out there. These services for outpatient treatment, substance abuse, and mental health, and the drug and alcohol testing are mandated for our operations and our certifications to continue with the program. What we do with these is it's a reimbursement based through the grant. We will utilize agencies that accept multiple types of insurances that will work with participants to get them state funding insurance if necessary. And then we utilize our grant funds for the services as a last resort. So we try to cover everything. Our main goal in the program is that if our participants are no longer in the program and they need help, this is how they can learn how to do it as well. We try and set them up for when they're completed with us as well.
Hey, I'm going to go through these individually, Commissioner, so if I may, I'm going to move to item Item P, which is contract for testing, prevention center, tap testing, alcohol and drug testing services, not to exceed the yearly grant award again. Ms. Wolfield, if you would.
Yes, that is part of the drug and alcohol testing. It is an agency that we've been using for quite some time, and we chose that vendor as well as a new vendor this year.
Have a commissioner has a question. Commissioner Howard?
No, I was just going to speak towards the items in general. Our specialty court does an amazing job, and I sit on the advisory board there. And what I can say is their goal is to how can we take somebody that went through rough life circumstances, sometimes by their own choice, and how do we make them whole? And so I'm fully supportive of like everything that our specialty court does. They do a lot of work and build bridges throughout the county, throughout all of the county. Like I'm down in Warren, and how can we impact the county to help broken people become whole? And so everything that our specialty court does is is focused on helping people versus incarcerating people. And I just love that's the direction by the leadership there. So just wanted to speak in favor of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item Q is a contract, Class A Training Center, outpatient substance use and mental health treatment. That's not to exceed the yearly grant awards again. We have Ms. Wolfield, please, if you would.
Yes, Class A Training is also a provider that has been providing services to mostly the drug court program for quite some time. They do the outpatient, it's mostly substance use services.
Okay, item I is another contract, alcohol and drug testing. It's not to exceed the yearly grant again award. Ms. Wolfield?
This is the second vendor that we chose for testing services. And just to explain, not to exceed the yearly grant award, currently we have about roughly $34,000 in grants for this fiscal year. Next year, that might be different. They might cut our funding, they might give us more. So I couldn't put an amount in there, so that's kind of what that means.
Okay, I like grants.
We like grants too.
You like grants too? Commissioners, any questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Just wanted to know if it covered Carrie.
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Wolfield.
you.
Thank you.
What Luke do?
Okay, we'll move on to item S, which is a purchase from Axon Enterprises, Inc., formerly Carbyne, Apex 911 call handling equipment for $2,282,070. What I'm going to do, if I may, Commissioners, I'd like a motion to move this to full board, and then we can get all our questions answered, and if not, we can get them at full board, if nobody has any objections to that. So before we go any further, I need a motion to recommend this to full board.
So move.
I A motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Perna. Ms. Elsie, you're up.
Good afternoon. So this item is a request for the board to approve a 5-year agreement with Axon, formerly Carbyne. I stated that just because of the purchase agreement itself in your packet has the Carbyne branding on it. But this is for the Apex 911 call handling system. So this is a system that would be used to answer and process 911 calls. But before I get to details on that proposed solution, I realize that it is important to provide some background on how we arrived here and why I'm requesting this from you today. Because in December of 2023, this board did approve the purchase of a new call handling solution with the vendor Atos. That decision at the time was not about upgrading for modernization or convenience. It was based on necessity. At the time, Macomb County was and still is transitioning to a NG 911 or next generation 911 network and environment. And our call handling system at the time was outdated, nearing end of life, and not capable of operating on a next gen 911 platform. That infrastructure wouldn't support 911 call delivery to the system that we had. And so in practical terms, that really meant just there would not be a way of delivering 911 call data and critical location data that's standard now in call delivery to our center. So the need for Atos, or a new call handling system, was there, and that is what we presented in 23. At the same time, that system was also becoming increasingly unstable. We were experiencing occasional workstation failures that would take some of my call takers out of service throughout the shift. And we also had very limited redundancy because that was an on-premise solution. So if that goes down, there's no backup, right? We have backup plans, but there was limited redundancy to maintain operations, and that scenario really creates a real risk. So because of the concerns we had with the solution and the need for a new one, we went through a full evaluation process, and that included engaging project consultants, information technology staff, dispatch leadership, frontline dispatchers from across the county, and we conducted demonstrations of different solutions. We went on site visits to other 911 dispatch centers, and we held many technical reviews of available systems, had a lot of conversations with industry experts as well. And following that evaluation, we did determine that Atos was the preferred replacement. We had every reason to believe that we were selecting a highly capable system. It met the NG 911 compliance requirements. It offered a comprehensive suite of features and functionality, and it was presented as a very resilient, redundant, and cloud-based solution, which was important to us for that redundancy and security, designed for this operation. We were very confident that it would improve our service delivery and provide the level of service or provide the level of reliability that we need for the service that we provide to the public. At the time that I brought that request to the board, the total proposed contract value was $7.43 million over a 6-year duration of time. That agreement also included participation from Warren Dispatch and Shelby Township Dispatch as partner PSAPs, with Macomb County as the contracting agency, and then we would invoice each participating agency for their proportional share. So following the finalization of the scope of work, the total contract value was reduced to $6.13 million over 6 years for all 3 dispatch centers. Macomb County's share of that total was to be $3.94 million. So that was going to be our investment. The Sheriff's Office was the first to cut over to the Atos platform. So we were the first to turn it up, and that was in dispatch in the Comtech Center, which was August 19th of 2025. So just about 10 months ago. As with most technology projects, especially initially after that go live date, we did experience expected implementation issues. At that stage, we worked really closely with the vendor, and we did anticipate and expect that those items would be resolved through a normal stabilization and post project go live process. However, just about 10 days after go live, we had our first major service impacting issue. Dispatchers began to experience significant audio issues on both incoming and outgoing calls on both 911 and non-emergency lines. The call audio became so degraded, it became difficult for us to hear our callers and for the callers to hear the dispatchers. In some cases, callers thought they had lost connection and hung up, and we had to reconnect with them. We also experienced one-way audio incidents too. So the vendor was engaged, still on site, and identified that there was a failure in their network with how critical traffic was being prioritized. There's a whole lot of technical jargon to their explanation, but breaking it down, it really meant that critical call audio was not being handled correctly, which resulted in incomplete communication being passed on to the end user. So this was obviously very concerning to us, but any new technology can experience isolated issues. And so the bigger concern for us became based on the frequency and pattern of incidents that occurred following that. Since August of 2025, we have experienced at least one significant service impacting issue. Nearly every month, there has been a couple without, but in some cases, multiple events in a single month. These events have included outages at their data centers, which temporarily prevented us from accessing the system. Network routing failures that would cause dropped calls during active communication, failures in redundant systems that did not function automatically as expected and presented to us, and we learned that they required manual intervention, which is less than ideal. Configuration issues with the vendor environment that interrupted our service, software issues that caused individual call handling stations to become unavailable at times or unresponsive to the dispatcher's action that they were trying to take, unexpected crashes or system restarts while in use, and in some cases, system overload. We learned from the vendor in one of their root cause analysis reports that the memory was too low on some of the components of the database. So we are high call volume, and so we started to experience some issues there. So collectively, those incidents did result in some dropped calls or lost calls is what we call them. However, thanks to really, really dedicated staff, we never had a caller that we did not make contact with. So all of those callers did have communication with us. It just took some time during some incidents to make contact with them after those interruptions. These incidents only represent the most significant impacting issues, but since implementation in August, our supervisors have opened over 724 service tickets with the vendor. For a variety of issues, audio issues, unexpected behavior of the system, functional problems, and just ongoing operational concerns.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Chelsea, could you repeat that just one more time? How many tickets? How many?
724.
5 or 7?
7. I'm sorry.
700?
Yes, I'm very thirsty.
That's all right. 700?
24. 24.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
2 a day.
And that's actually increased in the last couple of days. So nothing in the evaluation process of ATOS indicated that we would ever experience the volume or severity of the issues that surfaced once the system was live. These issues became apparent only after it was implemented in real time. After months of service disruptions, hundreds of support tickets, and repeated vendor interventions, we concluded that continued reliance on this solution is not in the best interest of this county. Our agreement allows for termination for convenience when it's determined to be in the best interest of the county. Based on the information provided today, that decision has been made that it needs to be terminated, this contract between us and Atos. Warren and Shelby Township are aligned and supportive of that decision as well. However, 911 is an essential service, and we cannot end one system without first securing another. And so that brings me to the request on your agenda today, which is the proposed replacement. That replacement is for the Apex 911 solution by Axon. Knowing that Oakland County had recently selected this platform, we initially explored whether there was an opportunity to leverage their contract. And from there, we expanded our evaluation. We visited agencies in Illinois earlier this year, currently operating on this system. We met directly with administrative staff, supervisors, dispatchers to observe the system in a live environment. We held discussions with agencies in California, Colorado, South Carolina, and Louisiana to better understand the entire implementation process, their experience, day-to-day operations, performance, overall satisfaction. And in addition, we had Axon on site to provide a demonstration for our dispatch staff, IT support, and representatives, personnel from Shelby Township and Warren as well. Throughout this process, Axon has been very engaged, very responsive. They met an extremely aggressive timeline to deliver this proposal to make sure I could bring it before the board today. They are also not a new partner to Macomb County. The Sheriff's Office currently uses Axon's body-worn cameras, and so there's already an established working relationship with the company. And so even though body-worn cameras and 911 systems are very, very different, they're both mission critical, and both are technologies that rely on secure and cloud-based infrastructure. And that existing relationship really provided an extra level of security, comfortability, knowing that it's a reliable vendor with reliable infrastructure, made this exploration a little bit easier. The Apex platform, it is cloud-based. It's NG 911 compliant, so it meets all of those requirements for modern call delivery. It brings voice, text, location, and multimedia into a single system, allowing call takers to manage all of that incoming emergency data in one location instead of multiple resources. During our evaluation, we were particularly impressed with the system's simplicity and ease of use. It is very intuitive, it's straightforward, it's efficient, it's simple for the dispatchers to navigate. And agencies currently using the platform are consistently reporting a positive experience, strong vendor support, reliable day-to-day performance. There are some very, very large metropolitan agencies that are using this, and even small one-seat dispatch centers. And so it was the same conversation with all of their leadership, regardless of the size. The scalability of the solution is very positive. Given the challenges we've experienced over the past year, those factors also became very important in our evaluation. We know more now than we did then, right? We did site visits before. We contacted references. We had presentations and demonstrations, but we didn't have these 3 years of experience under our belt. And so these past 3 years, and including the past 10 months that we have been live and operational, have really formed a lot of the questions and evaluations that we did. So it was a fundamentally different decision this time. It wasn't deciding between a handful of vendors to provide a new solution. It was to truly find the best to replace what was supposed to be the best, and not meeting that requirement. The total cost for the proposed 5-year agreement, including implementation and 5 years of reoccurring fees, is $2,282,070. Compared to the county's share of the current Atos agreement, that represents a reduction of $1,657,791. So while the financial impact related to the termination of the Atos agreement will not be known until we have equitable adjustment conversations and those are finalized, the solution on your agenda today does represent a much lower overall cost than the current county share of the Atos agreement. Upon execution of the agreement with Axon, they will invoice the first year subscription costs, third-party expense, and one-time implementation fee, which totals $644,599. That's why I am not bringing a corresponding budget amendment today, because funding for these costs is currently available within the dispatch and cellular fee fund under contractual services and maintenance agreements. Ultimately, a call handling system is not an optional piece of equipment in a 911 center. It is our most critical system that we operate. We have made a thoughtful and informed decision when we selected Atos. Very unfortunately, it has not performed at the level that we needed to. It's not meeting mission critical operation reliability. And, it's become a problem. And so we're here to address it. And it's our responsibility to fix it. And so for these reasons, I respectfully request that the board approve the purchase of Axon 911. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Elsey. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
I see you brought your big guns with you, too.
Fill in all the gaps for me.
Yeah. Commissioner DeCito, please.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to thank you. I think you did a fantastic job with your presentation and explaining everything. I think you answered a lot of questions that I would have had, so I do appreciate that. But one of the questions I do have for you is I know you mentioned Shelby and Warren, and I know there's other 911 groups within Macomb County. Do you know what call handling systems that they use?
Yes.
And would it make more sense to, to try to get all of Macomb County's groups on the same call handling system?
Yeah, I love that question because that's exactly what we were attempting to do when we selected Atos. We brought all 9 911 centers together and we did all of these demonstrations together. And at the time, 3 of us decided we will do this together and then potentially others will join on. There was a variety of reasons why. Utica had just upgraded and they're like, we're not ready to put that expense in again to change. Cerisa is in a backup arrangement with Oakland County. They want to maintain a similar platform as them. Now Oakland County is moving to Axon 911 and Cerisa is very engaged in conversation. Other centers, have said we're happy with what we have, so we're just going to upgrade so it's NG 911 compliant. So us, Shelby, and Warren decided to do this first, and I think that sometimes there just needs to be a leader, and for others to see it work first.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Howard. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hall. Ooh, sorry. HA goes before HO, I'm sorry, alphabetically.
I was going to
Commissioner Hall.
help you out with that, but Michael did. That was a very informative presentation. The question I have, and Commissioner Lucido touched on it a little bit, do we know what system Cerisa is currently using?
Yes, we do. It is Motorola Emergency Call Works, which is also an end-of-life solution, and as soon as their contract is over, they will need to upgrade as well.
So you mentioned Oakland County was transferring to this system?
Yes.
Which is what Cerisa is trying to emulate from them?
Yes. So Cerisa and Oakland County have a backup arrangement to where if Cerisa's phones go down, they ring an Oakland County Sheriff's Office 911 center. And it's because they have the same CAD software, their computer-aided dispatch, where they enter the information into. So because of that already existing, when Oakland County purchased Emergency Call Works many years ago, Sarisa decided to purchase the same call handling system, so that way their backup centers were more aligned, right? Better interoperability, which is exactly what Warren and us try to do as well. Now that that system is end of life and Oakland County has already signed an agreement with Axon, and their first center is operational in September, Sarisa will likely go to the same solution.
And if I heard you correctly, there's still 4 years remaining on the existing system we're using with that contract?
There are 4 years on the Atos contract, correct?
Maybe the next one ought to be to the guy sitting back there about terminating that contract. That's what you're proposing here, correctly?
Well, I'm proposing a replacement solution because we have determined that termination is necessary. And so that is the action that we plan to take. But we can't have a gap in service. And so we've done another very thorough evaluation over the last few months, including many conversations, between John and I, and the provision in the agreement with Atos is that at any time the county can terminate for convenience if it's in the best interest of the county. And it is not convenient for us to have a 911 system that does not work as expected. So.
With the chair's permission, I'd like to propose a question to John.
Go ahead.
You weren't going to sit there just looking pretty, buddy.
I like the tie, though.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hypothetically,
Yes.
based on the description of the system that we just received, something goes south with a 911 call based on system failure. What is the exposure legally to the county based on everything we just heard?
There actually is one case out there, the Michigan Court of Appeals. It was released when I still work for the city. And it does create dispatcher liability for failure to respond to the scene, failure to respond to need. So there is liability if the system completely goes down and no one can get the assistance that they need.
But we've just been made aware there's huge deficiencies in the system.
That's why we're changing.
That's why you're
That's a great
proposing
part
we
of why we're
change,
changing.
right? That's why you're proposing we change.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I've looked at the Atos contract, reviewed the termination provisions, and we can terminate very safely.
You can terminate what?
Safely,
Safely.
yes.
Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think you'd mentioned 4 years. I think we're a year and a half into the contract, to the 6-year contract. Is that correct?
We are. It was signed in December of '23, and so, yeah, we are in.
Without being an attorney, Commissioner,
2.5
I think
years.
if there was liability in a drop call and it was the provider, not us, that caused the problem, I think the liability could be passed on to them. Just to think that maybe Mr. Shapka forgot to mention that. So it wouldn't be our total liability, we'd pass
I
down to
don't
the provider.
disagree with that, but they always go deep pockets first.
Absolutely. Commissioner Howard.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Just whenever it comes to 911 dispatching, I really just have two general questions. Is because of the broad spectrum of languages that we have throughout all of Macomb County, particularly in Warren and Centerline, Shelby Township, not Shelby, Sterling Heights, and even the coast, like this system will be able to handle people that do not speak English as their native language, correct?
Yes, yeah, we currently, through a kind of over-the-top application, we can text message in 140 languages. We started working on some live language translation, so evaluations, pumped the brakes when we decided all of this needed to happen, and that was an important part of our evaluation process as well. Currently, this system can handle 25 live language translation 25 different languages for live language translation. And Glenview, Illinois, which I visited as one of the evaluations site visits, is using the live language translation for, I think it was just Spanish at the time, but they were very, very satisfied. We got to witness some of that translation in real time, and there was no latency, and it was very, very impressive.
Thank you. And then, like you mentioned, this is the answer and process calls. There are a lot of residents that are concerned about using dispatch centers using artificial intelligence to answer and process calls. Can you just speak towards that?
Yeah, there's a lot of vendors out there. There's a lot of 911 centers in the state of Michigan using it. None on 911 that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but majority of my colleagues in the industry are using a solution on their non-emergency lines, which really helps to keep the dispatchers available for priorities, right? It kind of diverts some of that. How do I get a permit for this? Or is there a water main break in my area? Or can I report a lost dog, right? Things that are important in the community, but don't necessarily require an emergency dispatcher. That is not part of this proposal. Carbyne does offer that as a solution. I am focused on the quickest, fastest path for the most efficient replacement. And so all the bells and whistles can come later.
Thank you. I'm not a huge favorite in AI answering emergency calls, which I think there was a misunderstanding when you were before us before, and there was an article put out saying Macomb County is using AI to answer emergency calls. And so thank you for addressing that. Like, we are not using artificial intelligence to answer 911 calls, and just wanted to give a peace of mind to the residents of Macomb. So I thank you so much for addressing that directly. That's all, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Angela. Great presentation. So just a few questions. So you said 727 issues?
724 tickets we have entered since August. Now, that was when I ran the report on Monday.
Okay.
We have entered several more, so I would say at least 10 more.
Okay.
In the last 2 days.
So the challenges are all on their side. There's no challenges that we're experiencing on our infrastructure side at all.
Not that we've been able to confirm, right?
Okay.
So we have gone through so many different types of testing and evaluation, and for months we gave them the benefit of the doubt. And so our primary thought was always, is this an issue with the way our connectivity is on our end? And but between our IT support, our technical experts at the radio shop, under emergency management, they have come on site even again this week, many times to work directly with the vendor, even side by side, to confirm, correct cable connectivity, audio, decibel adjustments, all of those things. And all we can confidently determine is that the only thing new that has been introduced is this call handling system. And so while we had issues on our prior, that was more related to because it was starting to die, right? It was towards the end of its life. But we never had these audio issues. We never had these dropped calls. And so, they have taken responsibility for majority of the issues. They do by contract have to provide us within 48 hours of a critical service impacting incident with a most probable cause. And then within 30 days of root cause analysis. There was one incident where it was an originating service provider who they contract with for some connectivity, that it was an issue on that third party provider, which was verified, but all of the others are Atos responsibility. Yeah.
Okay. So stepping back to 2023, when you decided to go with the current vendor, where was this vendor on your list, and why didn't you select them at that time rather than the current provider?
They were just not a known name or solution in the industry in 2022. So their first implementation was in 2023. So when we started these evaluations to do our due diligence demonstrations and we're bringing in all of these different vendors, Carbyne was just not a known name then, but they are now the leading 911 call handling system. And just really taking off nationwide. And so now everybody knows their name, but they weren't really, I hadn't even heard of them at that time.
Okay. So I guess I mean, when you run the numbers, I know you went through that as far as, if we were to stay in this contract and compared to going into this contract, it technically is saving the fund money overall. I think my only concern with this contract is that, the upfront cost with the hardware and everything that you have to spend with them. We obviously did the same thing before. If this goes in a direction where you're not satisfied, you're kind of, you reset it and you got to go buy new hardware and do that all over again. Have you run the hardware specs through IT in the sense of how it works with our systems, just to make sure that there's nothing there that's convoluted or there could be a hardware issue? Because I know everything that we're doing at the county, the vast majority is all going to the cloud, and I know we're staying away from hardware stuff as much as we possibly can, but these platforms require it.
Yeah. Yes, to answer your question simply, our IT project manager engaged with the Axon group early on and sent them IT's security and specification assessment, and vendor returned that, and IT did their entire review on it and supported us to move forward.
Okay. I mean, this is a big, when you're going to these next generation systems and all these technology conversions, and this is not the first, technology conversion that we've gone through this county. Everything that we've been going through lately seems to have its bumps in the roads. Obviously, this is extremely important. So I'm going to support this today, but I do have some other questions that we can circle back with you on. But today, I'll move this to full board for tomorrow. I know Chair has some other questions too, so I don't want to take up too much more time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And you can answer these individually. In fact, that's probably the best way to do it.
Okay.
And you can make them as brief as possible as you want, or stretch them out if you want. Here we go.
Sure.
So the new contract that you're signing now is for how long?
5 years.
5 years. The savings that you mentioned that we'd be saving, that's in fact if we keep it for 5 years. Is that correct?
That's
If
correct.
at any time during that time we decide we don't want the system, that savings is not there.
That's correct.
Okay. Are we going to be paying monthly, or are we going to be paying yearly for this service?
Yearly.
Yearly. Is there a penalty for canceling this contract?
For canceling this contract?
We go 6 months into it, we're not satisfied, is there a penalty?
Let me look. I can't recall off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Commissioner, is it okay if I get back to you on exact? with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't want to misspeak.
That's
and I don't
fine,
wanna
no,
flip
Angie,
through.
that's fine, you can get back to us, tomorrow's full board, we'll let you go back and work on it tomorrow, if you
Okay.
would,
I
or
can
whenever.
get that
All right.
for you quickly. Not a problem.
Chair Sabatini mentioned about the equipment. Can we use any of the equipment that we have now that we purchased? Can it be used on the new service?
It's very possible. We, with the current contract with Atos, we are essentially leasing that equipment. We did an evergreen agreement with them, so that way it was always current, refreshed. We didn't have to worry about maintaining it ourselves either. So that expense was spread out over the course of 6 years. If we choose to buy that equipment outright as part of this termination, then that'll be part of that equitable adjustment discussion. But I really want IT to take a better look at that. But I have asked those questions, and we're very confident that we can. But it may be more cost effective for us to just purchase the hardware as part of the contract with Carbyne, which is what I did include in the proposal.
You and I talked about the cost to drop Alta, how do they pronounce it, Atos or Alto?
Atos.
Atos. The cost to drop Atos, and I think, and again, I'm going to use a rough figure, because they do it, they charge us on a quarterly basis. This is time sensitive also, incidentally, this approval, am I correct? Because if we go into the next quarter, they can get us for 4 quarters if we start on a new for the next contract, am I correct?
Their initial one-time cost for implementation was spread out over 4 milestones. So it's not necessarily 4 scheduled quarterly payments. It was for milestone payments for the one-time implementation expense. We have paid 3 of the 4. We have not yet been invoiced for the 4th. So we're not defaulting on anything. We just haven't been invoiced for it yet. And that is because I have not signed off on acceptance of that 4th milestone.
So I take it you would procrastinate so we can save a couple dollars here?
Absolutely.
Maybe it's a silly question, but do we get any refund from them once we cancel with them?
It's possible. I can't answer that confidently.
I don't understand when you say that, please, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but you say you don't know. There's something in the contract, Mr. Shafka's behind you, he must have read the contract. I mean, if we can get a refund, there must be something in the contract that says we do or don't. I don't get, I don't know. That doesn't, I'm not happy with I don't know. And I'm not expecting you to come up with nickels and dimes and say exactly what we're going to get, but I would like a definitive answer. No, I'm sorry, we won't get any refund, or yes, we are going to get a refund. I can't give you the exact amount, but we will get some. Have you looked into it?
Yes, but I was not able to find anything within the contract that would state that we would or we wouldn't. So, Commissioner, I can't confidently tell you yes or no. I don't have an
It's an
answer
honest
for you.
answer. Are we liable now, and Mr. Shab, because I know we can cancel for any cause. I think there was a word that we used for canceling the contract, but I just want to make sure that once that contract is, well, anybody can sue anybody. I think we know that, but I want to know what our liability would be once we cancel the contract with them. And I know there's an escape clause. Mr. Shapka and I discussed that, but I just want to know how strong that is, that, as I said, anybody can sue anybody, but I'm a little concerned about that. When you mentioned that there were 700 and some problems, and I see Sheriff Wickersham behind there, and I know 911 goes to some of his patrol officers that are on duty. And if I may, I'm going to call him up to the speaker there. Sheriff, can I get you up here for a moment? Thank you.
All happy.
I'm sure when you talk to your officers and if there's problems with the 911 call center, they're on the road and they're getting these calls. Have you received any of these complaints? I mean, are you aware of these complaints?
From the system itself?
Yeah,
that we're
from the
talking
system,
about?
from your deputies on the road.
No,
You're not aware of them?
they're not. These calls are coming into the dispatchers. The dispatchers are dealing with it. They press the button once they got the information, and they're getting it to the deputies out on the road, or the police officers in Sterling Heights, or the police officers in Clinton Township that we dispatch for. So they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They don't get on the air and say, well, this call just dropped, we're calling this person
Okay,
back.
that's what I wanted to know.
They're, like she said, our people are doing a great job making contact with everybody else, that if a call dropped, we make contact with them, we get the information, we send police, fire, or EMS. But out on the road, they don't know what's going on. When they get the call, they answer the radio and they go, or they ship it to them.
Okay, that's what I was concerned with, that your deputies are saying, hey, listen, we started getting a call that was disrupted, we didn't get the call was dropped. That's all internal stuff that you can see it, they get the finished products is what it is.
No, we have monthly staff meetings, and Angela's been keeping me up to date every month on what's going on. So once we know we have a problem, look, we could all sit here and say, well, we stood up here 2 years ago and said it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? But look at yourselves. If you ever bought a product that you thought was the greatest product and something happens, right? So, it's just one of those things. And once we know we have a problem, we come up with a solution. So I gave her the go-ahead, said work on the solution. And that's why we're here today. Obviously, if we can get the approval on this, we can send out the, the termination. We can figure out what we're going to owe or what we might get back. Then we'll be able to report to you. But again, we want to have something ready to pull the trigger. And I think they know that something may be coming. Yes. They do. And, and I just found out today, and I don't know.
I would think so.
Okay, Fairfax County, Virginia. It's a county-wide police agency. That was one of the site visits they went to. They spoke so highly of this, you know, and I knew the chief from Fairfax, sat on a couple boards with them, and they said this was the product to go with. They're doing the exact same thing we're asking to do right now. So.
That's what I needed. That's what I wanted to hear.
And you know, if you've been around long enough and you've dealt with computers and technology, you know, if there was one system that was perfect, everybody'd be on it, right?
Trial and error.
Everybody has, you know, their preferences of what they like, reference, records management, CAD. Look, what was Forlini was just here asking for all of that, you know, technology and that. So, you know, we try and do, you know, what we can, and Angela and her team did their due diligence over and beyond, and, you know, and here we are today. You know, and we're sitting here saying this will be the solution. You know, our neighbors next door are going to utilize it, and if we all work together, you know, we can make this thing work.
Good. Thanks for coming down too, Sheriff. Appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Okay, Angie, you're going to get back to me on the one question that we talked about?
Yes, and I also was informed that there is no penalty for terminating the contract, and there is no provision for reimbursement.
That answered both questions. So that you know, we're moving this up to full board. More than likely, I'll be in favor of it. We have a day to think it over. But in the meantime, I have other commissioners here that have some questions, if I may. Commissioner Goyke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for a wonderful presentation. Just like everybody else says, I think you did a lot of due diligence when you did the first one, just from your presentation and telling us on all the work that you did, and the smart move by getting out of the contract, having that language in there was very, very smart. And the way I understood it is we're paying for the services, and that's why we're not going to have to pay them the rest of the money out of this contract is the way you presented it, correct?
Correct.
So I think this is all wonderful on that aspect. Other questions were answered, but the main one was, I listened to you, the cloud, the iCloud. Well, everybody just remember, that's a data center. So just don't forget. All right, so that's my whole real question was, that's the bottom line was, is our equipment with our own data stuff, we're using that, and because what I'm pushing towards is the securement of it, and do we have enough, you know, space, or is this company going to be using a data center out of state, or is it going to be local in the security of it, or do we have to, have building space because they'll probably need more for it, and that's what I'm getting into, because possible more money to make more room, because of the cooling and everything else involved with them.
Good question. No, they have their own data centers, and those are geographically diverse on opposite ends of the country, which was a preference too, because if there's one major event, on the East Coast, we don't want it to take out our redundant data center, which would be on the West Coast. And so there are two data centers, and they use the Amazon Gov Cloud, so it's a secure government cloud that they're in contract with for the delivery. There are layers and layers and layers of redundant, delivery paths, which is very difficult to reproduce on a local government level. So we would not have to make any investment in any of that infrastructure.
Okay, that's great on that aspect. And then the other question was, being that they're specializing this now and they're using the big data centers, are those data centers have their own power source so that if something happens, because some of them now do, because that's the biggest incident of, in our areas is because of power. Let's say something happens, the grid goes down, that, or do they just have their own power units? Because this is such an essential, aspect of when, we're going to have emergency and that's what's going on. Do you know that aspect?
I don't know for sure. I can find out and get back to you. I do know that the data centers are required to be, I forget the exact term, but they need to be able to withstand an F5 tornado, and they meet those requirements.
Okay.
So I would imagine power is part of that requirement, but I can find out exactly.
And thank you on the direction that you're going. I think you're a very wise person and doing just from the presentation and, all the questions that you just in your presentation was answered a lot, and my colleagues, a little bit was left. Thank you very, very much.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wino.
Thank you. So you said something like, you think they might know something's coming. And and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you mentioned that there were like 700 and something issues in over a 10-month period. And it sounded like you were working with them. There must be like a log of these issues, and whether they've been resolved or not, or still pending.
She did a great presentation.
Was there any, I guess, were they placed on any type of corrective action? You know, were they like given any like written notice of like, you know, hey, we've got 700 issues, you know, 500 of them are still open. What's your plan to resolve these with immediacy? You know, this is high level priority, medium priority, low priority.
Not a formal notice. We have had either twice weekly or our regular weekly meetings every single week since go live. They have sent personnel on site to sit in our dispatch center for 24 hours a day for months at a time, to try to see these issues in real time and resolve them. So they are aware of the priority. I do always follow up on the bigger items too, or even the smaller ones that we're seeing in frequency, because then those little operational things just equal a much larger frustration. I've always run up the escalation path within our chain of account executives. So not a formal, excuse me, not a formal notice. I originally was researching how to maybe hold them accountable to some service level agreement violations. But at that point, it just became very apparent that we just can't rely on this to continue. And so rather than pursuing that route, we needed to focus on termination and replacement.
Okay. So then I think that brings me to my next question, which is regarding the termination that must, you know, language that must be in that contract. And I don't think we have that, but I know you mentioned that there's no penalty for terminating the contract, but I would think that we're going to terminate based on like a breach of contract. So is there a breach language in there? Do they have the opportunity to cure that breach?
There may be, but I don't believe we're breaching the contract because we're
left it in the language.
We're following the provision that allows us to terminate for convenience, correct?
So you can terminate without cause?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, there's
With
a
no
different provision
penalty
for terminating
without cause then?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That's it. Thank you, Commissioner. Just a thought, we're going to bring this up to full board tomorrow, but Commissioners, think about this part. We just heard Commissioner Hall talk to Road Commissioner Santo about, I think the figure was 17 million or 70 million, millions of dollars, all right? I'd be the last one to go to my constituents and say, listen, I voted no on this because I think it's going to cost too much money, and I hope you don't have to call 911 and when you're in the old system and your call is dropped. So we got to take that into consideration when we're voting tomorrow. Ms. Elsie has done a great job in putting together a lot of questions. Her and I have had some conversations back and forth. And though I'm not happy that we're switching because of the cost factor, I think if she's telling me it's a better system, I'm going to go with that. And if the sheriff backs that up and says that's a better system, I'm going to go with that also. So I'm going to vote in favor of this tomorrow. We're going to bring it up to full board. And if there's no other... you came in late. Go ahead, Commissioner Howard. Short and sweet.
Oh, sorry, that was an accident. I was just going
you don't
to
wanna go on?
Commissioner Goicke know that they use Axon uses the same data centers that the Pentagon uses.
Okay, thank you. So,
If
having
it's good
no
enough
other
for the Pentagon, I
questions,
think it's good enough
Commissioners?
for us.
I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
All done? Okay. Commissioners, if no other questions, let's vote to move this to full board, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Antoinette, it's a good thing you didn't hit.
Motion passes 10-0.
I'm sorry.
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you, Sheriff, for coming. Ms. Elsie, thank you. Your crew. Thank you, Mr. Shapka. Appreciate it. All right, guys, let's go to item 10, which is public participation. We just like to see you. That's why we called you down. You look good in a suit. Public participation. This is 3 minutes for any speaker that wants to speak on any item not on the agenda. I see no one here to speak on it. We'll close that portion of it. We'll go to commissioners' comments. Anybody want to speak? Don't be bashful. Raise a hand. Go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
Thank you. It's damn cold in here.
You see me with a jacket on and a long sleeve shirt? Next question. Any other commissioners want to speak?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Wallace, supported by Commissioner Howard. To adjourn, please vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Meeting is dismissed. Thank you.